So a little bit about your background and training. I mean, when did you know you wanted to be a dentist or a periodontist?
That's a good question. I was studying neuropsych and neurophysiology. I was doing single cell recording from some part of the brain on visual cortex, and that doesn't have anything to do with dentistry. But I then couldn't get into a program. I was kind of behind on applying for something. I forgot, I was a teenager, and so I took a half a year off and I started working on my old car. And I liked working on it, mechanics. And I was at my dentist office, and he said, your mom's worried about you. If you like science and you like biology and you like mechanics, why don't you do dentistry? And I thought, it kind of makes sense. And I got into dental school, and all the tinkering and all the playing around and building model airplanes as a kid. I mean, I think I just fell into it, and it was a perfect fit.
What do you like most about it now?
I think I like working with the people and seeing the changes that we can make, and even just having some long-term relationships. And we'll see patients sometimes 10 years later, they'll come back for something new, and that's rewarding in and of itself. And then I like also the science. I've always been one of those science geeks who could quote things and memorize stuff, and I like putting things together. So it's I get to enjoy working with people. I get to build things every day, walk home at the end of the day and say, wow, isn't that neat what we built? And then I get to go home and study and learn more about things. And it's all that kind of interaction of those three that makes it a great job.
Now give me your background and experience with dental implants, because you've restricted most of your practice. I guess you spend most of your time doing dental implants, you say?
Yeah, it's about 90%. I mean, basically what we did was we said, parts of one day we'll do general perio procedures, because I think it's important still to keep skills up in those areas, because we use them for implants as well. But really about 20 years ago, I looked at implants and saw that that was going to be the technology that had the most potential to change dentistry. And so I started to make that my main focus. And I went back to grad school at University of British Columbia. I did a 2-year program in periodontics. So that's a surgery program where you learn, bone grafting and disease management skills, as well as introduction to implant dentistry at that time. I did my surgical training. I took a program in Chicago at one of the very early Brennemark centers. And Brennemark, in case you didn't know, was one of the founders of implant dentistry. He published all the very early research. And back in the day, you had to take a Brennemark course to be able to place a Brennemark implant, which I think was great because it established high standards. So we started with that and then set up in Calgary, and pretty much from day one I'd been focusing on implant dentistry.
Good for you. And you're also known as the guy that doesn't have to do a lot of bone grafting.
Well, I think that's partly not just an individual thing. There's a kind of a trend in the market for that as well, because the provision of the implants now is what we have in terms of technologies available to us are better, and procedures as well. So we can do procedures with less bone grafting than we used to, for sure.